think he's normal in our house.
The time that I got arrested.
There was a couple years that I called your dark years.
So I had stolen hundreds and hundreds of dollars of stuff.
And I'm like, shoot, what did he do?
Typical Asian propaganda.
And then I'm starting to stalk her Facebook.
I think that's why I married Emily's. I needed help.
As long as I've known you, but mommy, you're fat.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. It's a little different. As you can see, I'm here at home for Christmas, and I'm going to be talking with my mom. Some of you guys might find parts of this conversation interesting. Some of you might be interested in listening to the entire thing. So here's the thing. If you go to the first comment below this video, in the pinned comment, there will be a timestamp with all the different stories that we'll be sharing. Stories from my childhood, stories from what it was like growing up, my mom's story, and some of the kind of interesting moments that we had along the way. There's my little sister running on by. So if you want to skip forward or find certain parts of the, conversation that you'll find interesting, that's a little resource for you guys to check out down there. With that said, hope you enjoy my conversation with mom.
So, for those of you guys who don't know, this is my mom. What would you like everyone to know you as?
Mom.
Mom. Okay, this is mom. Mom is a teacher at a Christian school in LA. How long have you been teaching there?
Started in 1994. You were 4.
94.
So figure the math. 24.
24 years.
24 years.
You were my first grade, my second grade, and my third grade teacher.
Yes, lucky me.
We'll talk a little bit about that as we get going. But so there's a handful of questions that people wanted to ask. And one of the questions was, how did our family become Christian? Because you were not born here in the States, right?
Nope.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so obviously I was not born in the United States, so I was born in the Philippines. And my paternal grandfather actually was a pastor in the Philippines. And from what I understand, he was a pretty prominent pastor and was instrumental in a lot of Filipinos in his area to convert.
Do we know the story of how he became a Christian? Or is that as far back as we know?
That's all I know.
Oh, okay.
I should ask, huh?
We should figure that out at some point.
Yeah.
So you came here at the age of...
4.
At 4.
So when I was 3, my parents left my older brothers and I in the Philippines in the care of my aunts. So they divvied us kids up. So
by the way, that's Mochi. You'll hear some scampering around. There's 3 dogs that are in this house. So clearly we're not in a studio. So forgive us for all the background audio.
So they divvied up my brothers and I was actually taken care of by my favorite aunt, Tita Lynn. Mm-hmm. And she was only 17 at the time. I didn't know that. So she pretty much,
wow.
Yeah, she pretty much had full care of me for a year.
I am 28 and I'm still not confident that I can take care of a child.
Or yourself.
Or myself. I think that's why I married Emily's. I needed help.
Yeah.
Emily's over here.
A lot. So, okay. And then so they left us there because they needed to get started in this new country. They were the first ones in the entire clan to venture out. So they chose LA area because they had some friends that also came here, and their friends said, hey, come stay with us for as long as you need. We'll get you settled. And then that's how we started. So about a year after they came, they sent for us. So imagine, I think my grand aunt was in her 60s when she escorted my brothers and I. So I was 4, which makes my other brother 6, and my other brother, I think, 8.
So all 3 of you guys, how long was the time between your parents, we call them Mama and Big Dad?
Yeah.
They came here, and then
A year.
long? A whole year away from their 3 kids.
A year.
Dang, that's
so,
crazy.
and then, so my grand aunt, we call her Ate Dina. Ate Dina did not know English. They entrusted her to take the 3 of us here. Story was, okay, so we had a layover in Japan or something like that. And so she had to figure out how to get all of us with our luggage into a hotel room and then back to the airport and all this other stuff.
She couldn't communicate, couldn't read signs.
And from what I understood, some older Japanese guy had interest in me and helped her. Yeah, that's what I hear, but I don't know the whole story.
Whoa.
So then she made it. So they're communicating through phone.
And this isn't text phone back in the days.
So when we landed in LAX, they didn't know where to meet. So it took like an hour for them to find us.
Because you guys are just wandering around.
Because this is a new country.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
Dang.
then Atirina stayed with us. The house that we were renting, we rented the downstairs of this 2-story house.
Is that the one in Glendale?
Yeah, it was about 2 blocks from where I teach. So
Yeah. You've basically set up camp right where you guys landed.
yeah, pretty much.
We back in the days when we were driving to school and things like that, we would drive past the house and you would always point to the room because there was a little crack on that house, like from an earthquake or something like that. And you're like, that's where I grew up. And it's like,
Yeah.
And then
No, that's a different house.
oh, different house.
Yeah. The first one was on a different street. It's actually closer
Oh.
to the school. The one you're talking about, I think I was there from 2nd or 3rd grade on.
So why did you choose to be in Glendale? 'Cause so Glendale's the city in which you guys basically set up camp. You went to school there. That's where you eventually would meet my dad. But now you're a teacher at that school. That's where I went to school from K through 12. Why did you set up camp there?
I always knew I wanted to teach back where I went, and I call that home. It was just hard getting there. There were a couple roadblocks, but I don't need to go into details on that one.
Okay.
But when you were old enough to go to school, and that was, for those of you that don't know, he started very young. He started a year earlier than most kids. I actually had a job at a public school, and where the principal thought you were her child as well, and she took you under. And but I always knew that I wanted you guys to be in a Christian school rather than a public school. And it just so happens we were actually at a vacation Bible school at Vallejo, and one of my friends who was a teacher at the school said, "Hey, we have an opening."
So we're going to take a quick break. After the break, we're going to talk about the time how we're going to tie this me getting disciplined and spanked and misbehaving to fast forward maybe about 10-ish years, and we're in Las Vegas on a family vacation, and I get arrested.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that right after the break.
Hey everyone, real quick before we continue the conversation, I just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons. Here's the thing that I want to try and do in 2019. Watching ads on YouTube is easily one of the most unpleasant experiences on YouTube. And starting in 2019, I want to move in the direction of turning off all ads on YouTube. And so the way that this is going to work is people on Patreon are supporting this channel. And so if you like deeper conversations like this one, interviews that I do, teachings, Bible studies, things like that, we got a lot of things planned for 2019. And if you would like to be a part of helping make this channel sustainable, ad-free, and just to make sure that we can continue to put out great content like that, consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/thatchristianvlogger. If this is your first time watching us, or if you really just aren't in a position to be able to share, I totally get that. I don't want any pressure to be there. But if you have received some kind of value from my channel, from some of the videos, I would love your support over there. It'll be linked below. And we thank you guys very, very much. With that said, let's continue on to the conversation.
And we're back. If you've been wondering why I've been looking at my phone as my mother's talking, it's not just because I don't care
rude.
about what she's saying.
He's
it's
rude.
also because my cameras
Disrespectful.
have a certain recording limit, and that's why we have to start and stop.
Rude.
So, anywho's, we were going to talk about the time that I got arrested. Do you remember? Can you set the backdrop for us? Where were we? What was going on?
Okay, so we decided to take the weekend, long weekend actually, and head down to Las Vegas where their stepdad was working. Was he working at that time? Yeah, we met them. So he was at the
Nellis.
Was it Nellis?
I think so.
Air Force Base there. And they had this huge air show. Hannah was like a couple months old, so this was in 2004.
Yeah.
So I took you guys in the van.
14
drove
years
you.
old then.
Yeah.
That's what that means for me.
Yeah, 14. Oh, that's Hannah's age. Oh, shoot. Man. Golly. I don't like 14.
So we're in Las Vegas at a military base.
Military base, and the whole day we're looking at all the different aircrafts, these tanks, blah, 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 blah. And then one of the most favorite things Jose likes to do is shopping at the base store.
The commissary is what it's
That's
called.
right. I couldn't remember.
Think Walmart or Target, but on a military base. And the advantage of shopping there is that
No tax.
No tax.
And
So-
everything's actually really cheap.
things are cheaper there.
So it's fun. So then we just go and shop. So you were old enough that I kind of just let you go on your own. Jordan too. I think I just followed Nikki.
I think most likely Jordan would just
Yeah.
trail me around.
No, at that time he would.
No?
Because you wouldn't have done that in front of him.
Oh.
You were.
Well, tell your part of the story. I'll share background.
Oh,
You don't
okay.
know.
Gee, I don't want to know. You guys are scaring. Every time I find something, I'm like, when would that happen? So I'm just minding my own business, shopping and walking through the stores, and I hear on the, what's that called? Intercom. Dinah Taro, you are wanted at customer service or something like that. And they paged me and it was like, what? That had never happened before. And then, so of course, the long walk from where I was to the front, all these thoughts, what's going on?
What did you think was going on?
I didn't think what was going on. I don't know. I was clueless because, I didn't expect this to happen. So they are you Dinah Taro? Yes. Follow me.
Well, hold on. So you weren't expecting this at this time. So what was your perception of me as a 13, 14 in that range?
Yeah, you had. There was a couple of years that I called your dark years.
My emo years, where I dressed from head to toe in black.
And you acted black, and you were just
You really did.
Not black like African American, acted dark.
dark.
Yeah, broody.
And
I didn't know you had the emo.
Yeah.
oh, it was bad.
Like dress gothic?
No, just black jeans, black shirt,
Yeah.
black sweatshirt, black shoes.
Yeah.
Just it wasn't a happy time of my life.
It was rough. There was stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, we've made allusion to it in other videos, and I've done a video
Yeah.
with Dad. There were things going on in our family. There was types of abuse taking place and things like that. We've since reconciled, and everything's good. But there's an impact on that, and so the life for me at that time was a very
yeah,
dark time.
Yeah.
And it was reflected by apparently
Yes.
by the clothes that I bought or
Yes.
Your
I wore
actions.
and my actions. So
yeah. Okay,
so you knew I was troubled at the time.
I knew, but you wouldn't you weren't willing to talk. You were just kind of,
Yeah, shut down.
you just wanted to be in your room and kind of leave me alone. So they asked me to follow them, and they led me through this door, and it's like, I don't know, it seemed like long, dark, narrow, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Then all of a sudden the light came and all these screens, and there you are with your head down. And I'm like, shoot, what did he do? And then they told me. They wanted me to see this video.
Yeah, so what happened was, up to this point in my life, I had a chronic problem.
Yeah.
This wasn't a one-off thing. Like, I have probably shoplifting was what it was. I had stolen hundreds and hundreds of dollars of stuff.
What were they mainly like video games?
Whether it was food, it was clothing, it was the thing that my best friend at the time, Roy, shout out to Roy if you ever end up watching this, who was a pastor's kid, oddly enough.
Roy.
We would go down to the local drugstore, like the convenience store.
Yeah.
Sun Valley something, right
yes,
next to
yes.
the restaurant.
I know which one.
And we would
Sunrise.
Sunrise, yeah. We'd go there and we would just
Roy?
Not we. I would.
Oh,
I
okay,
would
sounds
on
fine.
our behalf steal candy and soda and things along those lines, like regularly.
Wow.
Never got
And you
caught.
spent a lot of time at
I
Roy's.
spent a lot of time. I mean, it was probably like every time that we went and I hung out with him was probably
You made them broke.
that frequently. I mean, hundreds of dollars, which in high school, hundreds is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we're at the commissary. I'm walking around, and there's this video game section, and I'm loving video games, and I'm like, oh, I want that game. So of course I do what any chronic shoplifter does. I look around. Okay, nothing's going on. I thought I was really sly at that time, but apparently not.
Eye in the sky.
Yeah, quite literally. So I steal this video game, put it in my pocket. I'm walking out the front door, and this lady stops. And she says, hey, can I see your ID card? Because in order to get on the base, you need to have a military ID card. And she looks at my card. I give it to her. And she says, follow me. And at that moment, I didn't think about it beforehand.
Yeah,
Once I gave her the
that's
thing,
it.
I'm like, oh, crap. She says, follow me. She looks at the card. She says, oh, your stepdad's a lieutenant colonel. She's like,
Yeah, 'cause that's
oh,
kind of-
he's going to be pissed.
Yeah.
So lieutenant colonel on the base is like
It's one of the higher ups.
top 5, perhaps.
Maybe there.
Something like that, where basically everyone looks up
Salutes.
to my, yeah,
Everyone salutes him.
So I walk in, and the room is like this really long
so it was.
hallway,
Okay.
long hallway, stacks of chairs on one side. They asked me to sit at the very end, and I can see into the back room. There's the camera and the eye in the sky. There's me, clear as day, shoplifting. That's when they call you. And you walked in the room, and you didn't actually even say anything
Yeah.
that I remember.
I was kind of shocked.
We just kind of like the security person just kind of tells us what to
Right.
do. We do what we do.
Right.
They put the things on and I think I ride into the station, right?
Well, yeah, I was trying to process what to do with the rest of the family and
There you
the younger siblings that are impression, and then my mom and big daddy are there, and I'm like,
So here's what happens after all that happens. This is the part of the story that I remember most is after we get back to our hotel. I walk into my room, and like the only person that follows me is my big dad, my grandpa, and he walks in, and there was no, like, oddly enough, throughout this entire experience, there was no punishment. There was no, other than I had to pay a fine, and that was my punishment, but nothing from the family. There was no punishment. There was no lecture. There was nothing. Whereas every other time I do something, like I'm getting beat, I'm getting yelled at, I'm getting whatever. But I walk in the room, and the only person who follows me is Big Dad. And he sits down.
Silent one, and when he speaks, you listen.
We sit down on the bed together, and he pulls into the little drawer, pulls out a Gideon Bible. I don't know what he read, but I remember distinctly he read some Bible verse, and he prayed with me. And
I know that.
Oddly enough, like, that was a thing. I have never shoplifted since. Like, I mean, it was kind of a scary moment, but that stood out to me because it was characteristically different than how I was handled as a young troubled kid than any time before then.
Yeah. Big Dad doesn't say much, but when he does, everybody moves.
Yeah. I mean, it's very meaningful.
But he spanks too, you know. It's not beat it spanked.
I don't remember ever being...
I got my share from him.
The type of punishment you needed.
Yeah. Yeah. But what you didn't know is Mama, when you were talking to Dad, was talking to me, and she's like, "We're not telling Jordan and Nikki. They don't.
Do they not know?
They didn't know.
So they've only heard it
through the story.
I've told the
we
story.
had never said anything.
Really?
Yes, they made sure that those two had no clue what was going on. They didn't let the kids see you being driven in the police car to the police station with us following you. That's what we were trying to figure out.
Wow. I did not know.
That was Mama's doing.
I really appreciate that of her. That was really nice.
And then actually they were looking into, they're the ones that told us that it's not going to be on your record once you turn to a certain age if you don't mess up again.
Yeah.
I don't know how they knew all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was not arrested, so I haven't.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's try and take. I got real serious for me a little bit there. Okay. Let's try and turn, make it a little bit less serious for a second.
Okay.
I want to know if there are any funny, silly stories that you can think of that kind of, yes, there was this troubled past, but life wasn't horrible for us. Like, we had a lot of really good moments. I want to share one story to kind of give an insight into how our personal relationship was like, because it's been fun. Like, both you and my dad, I have looked at less as like parental figures and more as friends, which I'm very, very, very grateful for. One time I can think of, we were out here. It was like my 16th...
Badminton.
No, it was 16th birthday. We're out here. And we're just like, what should we do? Like, just like, here's the idea. Let's just do something as if we were like all kids and just like have like a kind of like a throwback to what if we were like 6 or 7 years old again. So we rented like this bouncy thing.
No, it was your birthday.
Yeah, 16 years old. That's what I said.
16.
16. I remember it was 16 specifically. Because it was like this dichotomy or this contrast between like, oh, you're becoming of age where you can drive, and you're kind of becoming your own man, and like, oh, let's throw back to being a kid. Yeah. So we had like all these games and crafts as if it was like a toddler's birthday. Yeah. One of the things was we rented a bouncy house, not like the one that had stand up with walls, but it was just the bottom layer. In the middle of the bottom layer, there were these 2 pillars, and then you would stand on the pillars with these giant, what would look like Q-tips, and hit each other to knock each other off.
It's jousting.
It was jousting, is what they call it, I guess. So we did that, and I remember, my friends were going up. We're having a good time. I jump up there. I'm going against my girlfriend at the time. All my friends around me, and then you do. Do you remember what you did?
No.
You run up behind me and pants me in front of all of my friends and my girlfriend. I was like, what in the world? So, like, that's a story that encapsulates, like, we've always teased, had fun, always joked around. When I was in high school, and I'd be like, all right, Mom, I'm going out. I'll be back. I'll be back early in the morning, and I would just always tease, and you'd be like, all right, cool, just make sure you use a condom, and then it was always just like this joke. Yeah. So are there stories that you can think of that kind of capture that?
You're pretty I don't know, there's like so many.
So share one.
I don't know, give me a clue.
No, there's no clue. I genuinely want to know. Like, there might be a story that I don't remember.
I can't pinpoint.
Just
You
share
should have told me this to think about
any
it.
story. Doesn't matter. It's not like a high pressure thing.
We wrestle.
Yeah, just
I don't
kind of
know.
a playful banner.
Yeah, we just egg each other on all the time.
It's
Yeah,
the same thing with-
as long as I've known you, but mommy, you're fat all the time. Mommy, you're old.
It's not as though you have not said things to me.
No, it's just I think it's just like every day we just do this. It's like our normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's our love language.
Yeah, it's very different than Emily's family.
You guys are
Like
so loving.
Emily's family, they
no
have this.
sarcasm in it.
Yeah, they have this philosophy in life in that words carry weight, and what you say, no matter what it is, carries a degree of truth. And if that philosophy was applied to our family,
Yes, how did you get used to that?
holy moly! Here, come
I-
come over here and get behind the microphone if you're going to share this little bit of it.
How?
Because
did you get used to
because our family is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Every
almost
one
like
of us, even the generation above us, all of them.
it's almost like what you say is not what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and you can only mean what you're
Yeah.
not saying. It's kind of
and I do that with my students. So my students know me, but other kids that don't know me, they're like, my students are like laughing.
come nice and close.
In my family, it's very different. Like words definitely have like meaning and carry weight. So like, my mom would be very particular with my dad, and she'd be like, never make any type of comment, even as like going towards that they're fat or something like that. Like that would hurt their feelings. Like for your daughter.
And that's
So-
what I tell my sisters
Yeah.
almost every
He
time I
tells
see
his
them.
Your
that all the
sisters,
time.
including
And so,
Jordan.
Just like that's how it is in my family. Like, oh, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to hurt anyone's
You
feelings.
haven't said it to Hannah.
Oh, I'll say Hannah that you're short or something. Well, I mean, that's
Stinky or
necessarily you're
something.
stinky or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, stinky's
Yeah.
normal in our house.
So it was interesting coming into this family because I'm like, whoa, like they're very sarcastic.
And I think that there have been times when we've been at like family gatherings for your family
Oh, yeah.
where they see us joking and teasing because you've gotten used to my humor or whatever,
Yeah.
my sarcasm. But sometimes I get the sense that your family is still like
They're uncomfortable with
they're
it.
uncomfortable with how I
Yeah.
joke with you.
Yeah,
Like
but
actually, I literally got a comment like that on our Instagram story yesterday. I was joking about how you're trying to look richer than we are, or something like that. And then someone was like, "How rude!" On the respondents. I was like,
Someone from my family?
understand-
Yeah, they
no,
don't
not
know.
from your family, but just from a random Instagram follower.
yeah. Because it's just so different from the way I grew up that I'm cool with it now because I know like how your family operates. It's just when you're with my side of the family, you kind of have to be a little different. So
And when Emily tries to have sarcasm with us or joke, it doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
You're too
You
nice.
don't have any
You don't-
teeth.
I'm
none.
too nice.
They don't like, that didn't work.
Yeah, but yeah, I with the way we want to raise our family, we still need to like figure that out.
Yeah, because they're when people talk about the differences of culture, there definitely are differences in culture between your family's style and the family that I grew up with. It's just they're different, and it's kind of like, well, what do we do?
How do we like when we have our own family? How do we assimilate both cultures and not like be too one-sided?
Did you
and,
have that
know.
problem with my dad, or were you guys like always just the same?
Let me think. That's a long time ago. No, I think we were fine. I think it was there.
Because you both in your relationship before the divorce, like you were very jokey with each other. Was
Yeah.
that kind of like
Yeah.
how you showed love to each other?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on, babe. So I wanna shift forward a few years, at least in my story, and hear from your perspective of when I graduated high school. That was like the first time that I got involved with ministry and things like that. And there was a particular season in my life that even to this day, honestly, is still somewhat difficult for me to comprehend why people responded in the way they did. I had a summer ministry opportunity and I wanted to go to Bible college that year. And the type of response, and maybe this is my perception and my perception is wrong, but the kind of response that I got was like hard, fast no, to the extent that if I did it, like I'm going to use the word like I would be disowned. I don't think it would be that strong, but it felt that strong. Where it was so hard for me to understand because I knew that my life up to that point wasn't the kind of honorable life that I wanted to live. It wasn't the kind that like you or my dad would be like, oh yeah, we're super stoked with what he's doing. He's heading down a great path. And now I'm making decisions to follow the Lord really for the first time in my heart, like fully. And rather than being supported in the way that I thought Christian parents would be supportive, I'm like met with the most hostile reaction that I could have ever thought of. What was going on there?
Okay, so because of the way I was raised, we were raised that we need to make sure we get educated and get our college degree so that we can be able to be successful. Da 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 da.
Typical
So
Asian propaganda.
It is. So that's where I went with it, and then.
So how much of that was just like, this is the script that I was given, so I'm going to say it, and how much of that was really genuinely?
Well, I knew you needed to get on your own and try to figure out. Mochi.
Shut up.
I knew you had to figure out how. I needed you to figure out how you would be able to support yourself, because I'm not supporting you the rest of your life, because you are the one that sucked out the most out of my pocketbook.
Really?
Yeah. You're my most expensive one.
Yeah, that's right. You get what you pay for.
Right.
It's a quality thing. Speaking of things that you get distracted with and have to touch, like in high school, this was my thing.
Mine too.
The Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Anywho, go.
Okay, so yeah, because of how I was raised, it was pretty much expected that when we graduate high school.
Doctor?
Teacher
or engineer?
No, teacher's not even in it. It's medical field.
Yeah.
So I
or
broke.
pastoring. That's the one hall pass you get.
Well, big dad.
My great grandfather.
His great grandfather, the pastor, was hoping that Big Dad, your grandfather, was going to be a pastor, and he's like, "There's no way." So the hope went down to the next, and then
And I'm the firstborn of that generation.
and you're the first one, and you actually
bunny hopped the generation.
So I don't think he ever got to see that wish came true.
He did not, or at least not
No.
Coherently, because he was
Yeah.
kind of fading in his later
Yeah.
years.
But yeah, we were just
Oddly enough, it went full circle a few years in the past. I actually got to preach at one of the churches that he started, which was a huge honor. It was super cool.
They had the whole service for our family.
Yeah,
really
there was like
neat.
80 other family members I had never met before.
And then we got to go to the school that your grandfather went to, and they're growing. They're now going to they're into the high school level now. They're up to 10th grade.
That's super cool.
So that's our school. That's his school. Yes, it was pretty much like my path. I was supposed to be the nurse because my brothers were the doctors, and so I actually disappointed my parents when I did not want to go into the medical or nursing field, because I'm like, I cannot work in the hospital. It stinks. And I can't do office work, because one summer Big Dad had me work in his office. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And then the next summer I worked in Mama's office. I'm like, I don't like this. I don't want an office job, and I don't want the hospital. What's left? And then the summer camp kind of did it. So we knew we had to, education was a big thing, so we had to do it. And I know education is a big thing. I'm an educator. So I'm like.
So context, the Bible college that I was interested in going is non-accredited. So you don't get college credit for it. So that's the real conflict here.
That was my conflict. I never wanted to push you guys into any career, because actually I wasn't really pushed into my career. It was just their hope. And when I decided to go against what they really wanted, they were cool with it. So I wanted you guys to have that same kind of flexibility. I wasn't going to push you into any kind of hole, but just so that I just needed you to get a degree and be able to support yourself. Mm-hmm. So when you you actually asked to have a meeting with your dad and I.
Oh, I went that formally.
It was here. And because we never really did anything. And so I knew
context,
it was...
my parents, you guys got divorced when I was how old?
6, I think.
6-ish years old. So it's not like you and my dad really ever spent time together.
Not really much.
The only time you've ever spent together is like for my wedding.
And Jordan's wedding and Nikki's wedding.
Yeah,
and
apparently this time is one of those few.
So anyways, you actually requested that you were really serious about wanting to let us know something. So you set up where we were going to have dinner. It was actually in a restaurant down here.
Oh.
Yeah. And
what did you think I was going to say?
No, I knew it was.
It's like coming out of the closet.
I knew it was going to be something about college, because you actually got really serious and there was no sarcasm. So you sat us down and you pretty much explained how this is what you really feel is a calling from God, and that you're that you're going to go against us, even though we don't want you to do that. Blah 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 blah.
Getting emotional.
But you had to disobey us because you felt the calling. Now, I don't know how you thought I took it, but when you said that, I'm like, okay, fine. I wasn't
That's not how I took it at all.
in the beginning. When you sat us down was when I said okay. But before that, I'm like, no, you need to get your degree. Also because I work for the conference, I wanted you to take advantage of the tuition break.
Right.
So that was, I'm thinking, how else are you going to get through college if you're going to go here? It's not accredited. That was in my head. But when you sat down and told us all that stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'll let you do it.
I think you're combining two conversations, because what happened after that first conversation was I got this sense that there was a hard no, and I didn't do it because of that, out of a desire to.
That was not the first time you talked to us, though. Like,
No. So
prior to that, you did say that you wanted to do this. I'm like, no, you need to go to college. But when you sat us down was when I'm like, okay.
Okay, then
Which was months in between.
Perhaps no. There's no way it could have been months in between, because it happened in the summer, and then school started. So there couldn't have been months that elapsed in between those. So what you're conflating is, after that, I got that response. I ended up not going to that school. Went to a different school.
Where'd you go?
To La Sierra.
Oh,
I
know that.
The following year, I had another conversation with you guys. and I
yes, that's
said,
the one I'm talking about.
I'm talking about the first one.
Oh, okay. So I was talking about the second one. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I knew you went to last year. Like, no, you got to go. Da 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 da.
Yeah. So.
And it was after that.
Yeah.
It was that summer. Yes.
So, what was that like watching me go through that? So context, I went kind of crazy. Like, I'm sure I'm still crazy, but like, I believed some very crazy things. I lived in a very radical way, not a very compassionate or grace-filled manner of living, very dogmatic, very closed-minded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that this was a challenge for you because you ended up talking to Pastor Kotz and other people to try and like, how do I navigate this? So you could clearly see me like being excited in a good way, but also if we're not careful, this excitement can go overboard in a negative way.
Well, I knew that for you, when you want to do something, you go all for it. And then when it doesn't work, then it fizzles. I'm like, is this going to fizzle or not? But I do know, like, when you want to do something, you're all for it. Then it's going to work. You're going to make it work. So when the second conversation, when I said, fine.
Your exact words is, I don't like it, but I'll support it.
Yeah.
That was actually in Glendale at a Thai restaurant, I remember.
No, the Thai restaurant's right here.
No.
Okay.
100% remember where it is.
Well, okay. Anyways. When the few times I would see you and visit you, because you were like further, when you would come closer and I can drive out, whatever, I'd observe you and you were happy and you were thriving. I'm like, that's, having a happy kid, can't complain. So, and then I wasn't going to just write out, give you money. If you needed, then you always knew that you can call and say, hey, Mom, da-da-da. And that's when I would try.
I'm not certain that I ever really asked for money, other than we have in the Filipino culture this, I don't know if it's a tradition or this norm in where when people come and visit you or you come and visit people, you leave gifts. And oftentimes that's monetary gifts. And so I don't know that I ever asked you for money, but I knew that if I came and visited you, right, here's $25, here's $50, here's $100 for gas or something along
or
those
if I went to visit you, either way. Yeah. Yeah, but if I saw that you're happy, you're thriving, you were making ends meet. You weren't like
barely.
Yeah.
I was earning like $1,500 a month.
But you're making it work. You had a roof over your head. Might not have been like, sleeping on the floor or whatever, but your needs were taken care of. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, if this is the way you want to live and this is your life, then, and you're happy, then I'm happy. I'm good.
Let's go ahead and put a pause on this episode again. We'll take a short break for the sake of cameras, and then we'll dive into, I want to know a little bit more of what it was like when Emily jumped into the picture, and then specifically about this last couple of years in this journey of faith with YouTube and quitting the job and leaving security and all these different kinds of things. Because I think it's one thing to experience it in your body and to see Emily and I go through it, but then for that to be your kid, I think is a little different. So take a little break and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, before we get into the last part of the conversation, I just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on this format. I know that it's not like a Bible teaching. It is a little bit more of an insight into my life. But in 2019, one of the things that I want to do, as you can see by the audio equipment and things that I've purchased, is I want to move into longer form content, into conversations. Meaningful conversations on faith and life is kind of the tagline that I'm working through. And so if you're watching all the way to this part of the conversation, do me a favor, drop a comment below, because honestly, I imagine with a video that's like over an hour long, not everyone's going to watch it. And so that means that you care. And because you care, I want to know what you think. Is this a direction that you like? Is specifically the tag meaningful conversations on life and faith is the way that I want to articulate it. Does that make sense? Do you feel like that's accurate for this channel? And do you think that that's the kind of thing that you're interested in seeing more of? So with that said, let me know in the comments below. And just as a heads up, as we get to the end of this interview, unfortunately, one of my cameras did max out with memory card issues. And so you're going to have, unfortunately, only one angle for the rest of this interview. But the audio should still come through clean because I recorded that separately via the microphones. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Appreciate all you guys do. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
So now let's talk about relationships a little bit. Growing up, I had dated a handful of people, but I'd always approached relationships from a very serious and intentional place.
You in junior high?
That
Was weird.
High school for sure.
You always thought you were gonna marry him.
Every relationship that I had from high school moving forward was a fairly considerable length.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half to 2 years each. And they were always with, at least in my own mind, an intention to marry this person kind of a thing. Like, I don't know, maybe the narrative of you and my dad being high school sweethearts and getting married, maybe that was partially at play. Oddly enough, I feel more confident in my ability to run a home, be a husband, maybe even a father, back in high school than I do today.
Oh, really?
I don't think I had the same anxiety that I have about it now. But those serious relationships were always within the confines of someone who looked like me, came from a similar culture, Filipino, Asian at least, and then things changed, clearly.
It got bright.
Lighter, white Christmas.
Talk to me about just what it was like, relationship stuff in high school that you saw going on, because even you and Dad have articulated on a number of occasions prior to meeting Emily that certain
We approved.
person, you're like, yeah, you guys should totally get married, 100%. Everyone was excited.
And her mother too.
And her mother. So to the point that when we had broken up,
We were
you
praying.
guys are trying to get us back together.
And we talked to each other at church about it. Mm-hmm. Do we say her name?
You can say.
Hi, CK.
I don't know if CK ever watches this,
CK.
but
I'll make sure she watches.
you can watch. She'll probably watch this episode.
Boots.
Hi, CK. But yeah, I was convinced that I would marry this person, even actually after I broke up with her.
Yeah.
Because when we had broken up,
It was on
one
good
of the
terms.
things, it was on. She kind of got nasty at the very end, because I'm going through all kinds of changes, and I don't know how to articulate the changes that are going in my mind.
Oh, I didn't see the nasty part.
Anywho, she got upset, which is fine. I don't fault her at all for
Probably
that.
because she saw the same thing.
Probably.
And you just shattered her dreams.
And also because I was probably a jerk in that. I know for a fact I was a jerk to many of my friends in that time. So
Yes, you were.
I don't fault her in the least bit for that. But even when we had broken up, we had a conversation after things had cooled down a little bit, and we're like, well, okay, let's take this time, because I really want to dedicate time to seeking after God and all these different kinds of things. She's like, okay, well, I'll follow you to college, and a few years down the line, maybe we can make things work. And I said yes, with every intention that would be the plan. Mm-hmm. So oddly enough, when I graduate from Bible college and I end up working in Riverside, and she's in that area, just things never worked out because she was either dating someone or I was in the middle of something, and there was just never a convenient time. But I always felt like somehow our paths would cross again. Mm-hmm. And then we meet Emily, and then things changed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Surprise.
2014.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So one of the questions people are asking was, what was that like when Emily was introduced, or if you have anything else kind of from that time period before, but what was that like when Emily's introduced? I think people are are thinking about the way that Asian families interact with their kids dating, like with
Crazy Rich
Crazy Rich
Asians.
Asians, that kind of a style.
Yeah. So the first time you ever said anything about it was through Facebook Messenger. So we would,
In regards to Emily?
yeah, because
Okay.
we would be chatting.
Oddly enough, we chat through Messenger or iMessages more than we talk on the phone.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like talking on the phone either.
So I'm sitting behind us on the couch and my computer's on, and then your little thing pops up and says, "Hey Mom, how you doing?" You know, and then
is that the voice that you hear whenever I type?
no,
Hey, Mom, hey, Mom, how you doing?
I can't do your voice. Hey Mom.
Oh,
And
that's
then
not great. That's
and
even
then,
better.
and then wait, this is after. Okay, so like let's go a little bit before. So
Okay.
it was Alumni Weekend. It's always the first weekend in May, and it was a Sabbath
Which
service.
is like the Christian equivalent of homecoming.
It is. It is. So I was in the auditorium and I didn't know you were coming. And so then I see you walking up and then you went to sit in the front. I was with my friends. So we started texting. And I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you so long because you never come and visit me.
I walk into the same spot that you're at and you just text me.
Right. Well, no, because the service was already going on.
Yeah.
And I was on one side and you were heading down the middle.
You're getting real shifty. Do you need a Rubik's Cube to fidget with?
It's my legs. No, it's not for legs. So I started texting it, and I'm like, oh, maybe I get to hang out with you tonight. Was my hopes. So I text you, hey, you have any plans for after? You want to hang out? Oh, Mom, someone's making me do something, and I don't really want to do it. My friend's dragging me to this speed dating thing, and da-da-da-da. I'm like, and I'm,
Oh, I saw you that day?
yes, because I wanted to hang out with you that night. And then
I
you're
don't
telling
remember
me
this. Okay.
I can't hang out because I have to. My friend's dragging me to this, and then I start laughing. So we had lunch, and that was it. So I didn't hear anything about it. So like probably 2 or 3 weeks later is when you said something. Hey Mom, remember when I told you about da 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 da? Yeah, and then I said yeah. You're like, well, I met someone, and I put this who, what, when, where, and then
Did I send you like a photo or a link or
no,
something?
then you sent her name. Then of course I get on and I put Emily Moore. Poof. And then I'm starting to stalk her Facebook. And I'm looking for any little thing. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's funny how that's like the first thing everyone does.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I did with Emily. Emily did the exact same
Right.
and like sharing that with all our
So
friends.
I found a mutual friend. Elmer.
Yeah.
So then
Who was a classmate of yours who was your
we were from church.
volleyball coach.
Volleyball coach, and we went to church together. So then I get on. Well, that's all you gave me. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I need to ask questions to Elmer.
Then I went and I got, and then I asked him questions. Hey, Emily, and he goes, ha ha ha. Emily's parents just asked me too. But earlier, your parents asked him what? No,
About me.
yeah,
Because they're probably stalking
and
me
so
and
so
seeing mutual
he
friends there.
he couldn't say much about like Justin. He goes, well, I know the parents, and so da da da. But how come her parents knew a week before me?
Because she probably spilled the beans after the first date. I waited a little bit longer because I didn't know what was going to happen.
I like talked
Well,
to
come, if you're going to talk, come over here.
Fine.
I talk.
In
Oh.
front of the microphone.
I think in grad school, well, my whole life, once I was out of the house, I would talk to my mom at least once a week, like on the phone.
How lucky of her.
Yeah. Maybe not once a week, but I
Just
mean,
even
if
a
something was
text.
really
Your
important.
poor mother.
Just even a text.
You don't even call me when I'm
Yeah.
on the road.
We text.
Yeah, so I could see myself just telling my parents before you. So, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for the great input there, babe. Real solid content that you've delivered to us.
I could definitely see myself telling.
Okay, great story. Cool story, bro.
When was the first time we met her?
It was ice skating, remember?
Ice skating.
Oh.
So one of the things people are curious about is like the whole race thing.
That doesn't matter to me.
We grew up in Southern California.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. In our family, we have people that are.
Oh, I just said, oh, you have
interracial.
cute kids.
That's what everyone says.
So well then, don't disappoint me.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna have
Taking too long.
no kids.
Don't say that.
There goes your inheritance.
Yeah. All right. So you wanted to meet. Actually, Emily was really scared to meet you. Because she had this. Okay, if you're gonna talk, you're gonna come. Jeez, she was scared because she had this tiger mom
I am.
version.
Yeah. I just had this idea that you were really intense. Like,
How'd you get that idea?
Just from the way he described you.
What did you say?
how did I
Excuse
describe-
me.
I don't know. I don't even know what you said, but like my idea of you was like, I was more nervous to meet you than his dad.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I'm just saying. But like when I met you and as I got to know you, like you're very fun loving and just you have a sense of humor, and that's kind of like how you have relationships with people. And so it was like, okay, this is cool. So that's I was a little scared because I don't know.
So we decided to go ice skating the first time that I introduced you to
Oh, we have a
Mom.
picture of you and Hannah, and
Yeah, we
We
do
do
on
have a picture of
Facebook.
that. What were you thinking during that time?
What was I thinking? Oh, I need to impress her. Like I was a
By
lot.
her ice skating?
I
Or by
was-
how are you going to impress her?
I was on edge. Like
yeah, skate edges.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I was on edge because like I'm meeting his little sister and his mom, and
She's
so
the
I'm just,
easiest
like,
one to please.
Yeah, I don't know. So I was just like on edge. Like I need to like look my best, and I am the type of person that really care what people think of me. It's a downfall. So I'm like I need to like look amazing. So yeah. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
So how did you do?
I don't know.
You're here, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm here, right? So yeah, it's always hard. Like
I usually
Me.
judge it on how Hannah.
Hannah
If
interacts.
if Hannah
So what did you see on that first? What did you see on that first time that we all hung out?
Hannah liked Emily a lot.
Yeah.
You gave attention to her, and like if you can give attention to a little sister like that, you're good.
And it was different.
That is the secret, guys. By the way, if you're in the dating phase, the biggest mistake you could do when you're meeting the opposite family is to spend time and attention with a significant other.
Yeah.
You need to spend time doting and winning over the family. So I'll give you
Genuinely, not fakely.
Genuinely, of course. So I'll give you an example. I went up to visit her family for the first time in July of the summer that we were dating.
Surprised you.
And I
Oh,
surprised you. That was a $700 plane ticket, by the way. You're welcome. Yeah.
I'm sure I paid for part of it too.
No, not at that time. No, definitely not. And so I buy a bouquet of flowers. And when you finally see me, because I surprised you, but you're like, oh, thank you. And you reach for the flowers.
It was for my mom.
And I said, these aren't for you. And then I walk right past you and give the flowers to your mother.
Yeah.
Pro tip,
First
dudes, like this is what you gotta do. You gotta win the family
Yeah.
if you're gonna have any hope of making the relationship healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that I have a fantastic relationship with your parents, and I feel like you have a great relationship with my parents as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel that way too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and like first impressions are kind of a big deal, but like as you spend more time with them and get to know them, then you can kind of relax and like really get to know who they are, and that's
Yeah.
the important part. So yeah. Anyways, yeah.
I don't know why you keep going. Just
Because
because you're in your pajamas.
Oh yeah.
so we get married. We move across the country. You didn't like that very much.
Well, you were always gone anyway, so.
I was always gone.
So
but
it's
I came
kind of-
home fairly frequently.
No, you
actually,
did not,
when I was
liar.
on the East Coast. I come home frequently now.
I only get half the time that you think you came because you had to always split it.
No. You actually told me, this was not very long ago, that you see me more than you see my sister.
That was up till a couple months ago. That has changed.
Last few months,
Yeah.
I've been way too busy. But like for like a
No,
solid
your
2 years, I
sister
was
has
down
been-
here almost every
But your
single
sister
month.
has been seeing, spending
for
more time.
wedding prep and all that kind of stuff for sure.
Just like in the summer because of the stuff we're doing, which
That's
is good. It's
that
all
makes
good.
me happy. I'm sure, I don't remember the specific moment, but I'm sure I called you and Dad for advice. And this is kind of something I do fairly regularly when there's things that are in my life. I
Yeah.
always contact you. I have at least past the black years and the dark moments. I've been fairly consistent in being very open about my life and being intentional about asking advice from you guys, which I think has served me a lot. And I think a lot of my peers, you do better if you did that more. Do you remember when I was first breached the subject of quitting my job?
I don't know the exact time.
Do you remember?
Yeah, but you had everything already. Okay, this is going from East Coast to here.
Yeah.
You had everything pretty much figured out when you told me.
Did I?
Yeah,
I must have waited
because
a
you
little
had
bit longer to
already
talk to you.
you had already had the talk with someone over there that gave you the blessing. Then you already had the permission to go to Emily's parents and all that. So everything was pretty much already settled. But I was thrilled that we're on the same coast now. So I was like, yeah. So it didn't matter.
Okay. Well,
Just,
that's simple.
Yeah.
Was Was there any anxiety at all for like us kind of taking this risk at all?
No.
Not at all. Really?
Okay. Because of the past that I've had and the stuff that I had to go through in my personal life,
Okay.
I learned with a divorce.
I see.
Okay. With a divorce,
I wasn't sure what you were.
I learned definitely stop worrying and just give it to God. So when I finally did that, that took a little bit, and I have a problem, and I'd be fussing with it, and to the point where I am getting canker sores, and I'm like, okay, that's not good.
Whoa.
I just say,
That's like Emily, our first couple of years of marriage. Not canker sores, but like that kind of anxiety.
you're stressful.
I'm sure.
Okay. When I've
It's a blessing.
now,
The most pressure creates the most beautiful diamonds or pearls or whatever. What's the?
I'm gorgeous then.
No, I'm the diamond.
no,
you
you-
get the pressure. You're the
you-
coal.
Thanks, always. No, but when what the divorce taught me is don't even spend the time on fussing. Just give it up and go with it. Go with his plan. So I don't really fuss now. So the only other time that I really fussed was when you were like, I'm not going to college, that first year.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I knew when you had the talk with me, I'm like, okay, there must be a reason. So I'm just going to let it go.
You're saying when I had the second talk, you're
The
like,
second
oh,
time.
this is
Yeah.
a little bit more or less. One thing that Dad told me about that specific moment was taking into account how extreme my nature was. Like if I'm all in, then I'm going to do it no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
He tells me, and I don't know how much of this is afterthought or intentional strategy going into it, but he says one of the major reasons why he said no and made it really tough for me was because he knew that if this is really what I wanted to do, that process of meeting resistance would help me be more resolute and more committed to the thing that I'm committed to. Do you think that that's true, that it was
I think-
intentional?
Probably not initially.
Maybe halfway through, he's like, oh, I can see this being really good.
He was not happy.
Yeah, oh, no doubt.
We actually had a conversation.
Really?
He was not happy.
Oh.
And because he was, for the most part, he would let me do the discipline.
Because he
this
saw
is-
how that worked out for us.
And so
It didn't work
this
out
is one of the first times where he actually was like going to do something.
What was it, something that he was thinking?
I
of doing?
don't know, but he was like, no, he really was going to try to get you out of it and just leave me alone.
And it took, 3 years for him to be like,
Yeah.
this was good. This was good. It's cool to see that progression, because when I first call my dad, maybe not first call my dad, but as I'm having continuing conversations with my dad about this, I really feel called by God to do this next thing and to kind of try this thing. Like, he was actually quite like much more supportive than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
Like when you think about like, oh, leaving security, full-time job, benefits, blah, 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 all these different kinds of things. And you're going to do what? You're going to go on YouTube and what?
I think he saw like, because you were so brave and to do all that, probably like I should have had a little more balls myself and done stuff. I think, I don't know. I can't read his mind.
Yeah.
I do see like now when like if you were to preach somewhere and stuff and your dad's all there with his video
Oh,
camera.
he's
and
there
everything.
every time.
I know.
Every time I let him
and I'm
know.
not.
Right.
But I could see he's beaming with pride. Like that's my son. And I think like that's his way of trying to make up for stuff in the past.
It took several years, but actually, if I think about this,
It took a while.
no, what I'm going to say is I remember after my graduation from Bible college, a little bit of time after that, like my dad actually used the words like, I'm proud of you.
Oh,
And I can't like,
and you had never really heard that.
I can't remember another time in my life that he said something like that to me.
Oh, that's good.
So it was like this massive transformation. It was this huge burden off my shoulders, because the thing that I was wrestling through and praying through and having like friends support me through the entire time I was at Bible college was this conflict that what existed between me, or at least this perceived conflict that happened between me and you guys when I decided to make this decision. Because even when I made the decision to go Bible college, I told you I'd only be there for 1 year.
Yeah.
And ended up doing the full program. So
Yep.
like
I'm like, oh, okay.
that changed partway through. So this entire time I have like this burden on my shoulders and not knowing what it's going to be like. And so I come to this like, I'm going to quit my job and pursue this thing that like doesn't exist yet, like, and there's no support for.
Well, I guess not knowing what you were doing was probably good for me. Like I never wanted to visit you guys in Philadelphia because I kept hearing how bad it was. I didn't want to have to worry, so I didn't want
Did
to
you ever
see
come
it.
and you didn't come
No,
and visit
but
us.
I purposely, because I keep hearing how bad it was. I'm like, and I didn't need any more worry.
Yeah.
So-
you heard from her parents. You heard from.
I'm like, no. So that's why it's like I'm like, that one I'm not going to go, and I threw it to God. You're going to take care of them, and I'm done. And but I'm not going to go visit, because if I visit, then I'm going to see it, then I'm going to worry. So I just I didn't want to hear from anyone.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But when we went to we took a train trip. We went from DC to New York, and we were
This was after we had moved away.
and we're going by. I'm like, oh my, ew. I'm like, oh. It was a good thing, because
I'm
I
sorry
was like
for any
freaking
of you
out.
guys that are from Philly.
I'm sorry.
There are some beautiful places in Philly, but we just happen to not live in one of those places.
And then some stories that you didn't tell us a lot of stories. We're just like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So I just kept throwing, like, you said you're going to protect them, you're going to guide them. I'm
And then I get jumped.
yeah, that didn't help either. So I'm just like, yeah.
And then we moved like a month later.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said something to God about that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions someone asks is, now, do you watch my videos?
I don't watch it as religiously as I do, and I don't wait for each episode, but because I'm so busy. But there'll be times, like actually a couple nights ago, I actually had like an hour of downtime, so I put you on,
Oh,
and I'll catch up on it, and I'll listen, and yeah, I'm like, wow,
they're less about my life than they used to be in the past.
Yeah.
They're more about just
Yeah.
things I'm learning.
yeah. So if I have an interest in that subject, I'll listen, but then I'll like skip and get the gist of it. But yeah.
What is something valuable that we have learned from each other? I'm kind of going through a list of questions people asked.
What did I learn from you?
I'll say this. The thing that I learned from my mom for sure is teaching in communication. Like a lot. Like I have always felt, I don't think I've ever articulated this to you, but I've always felt like you have been hands down the best teacher that I've ever
I thank
like
you.
observed, objectively speaking, like in a classroom setting, but also like for my own life. Like by far, like the strategies and techniques that I use in communication and teaching, they come from you.
Why, thank you. Thank you.
So now, what did you learn from me, Mom?
Oh my goodness.
To not pull your hair out. And say,
Actually, it's a lot of stuff like the trusting in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, as a mother, I want to kind of like help you with your path and try to figure out what's the best thing for you. Learn pretty quickly with you. I can't, because you like to do your own thing. And I'm like, okay, so I remember you were really young, probably 2 or 3, and you were just the most stubborn little booger.
I like that verb tense.
You were and still are. And I'm thinking fast forwarding you to school, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if he acts like this, he's not going to be friends with the kids, they're not going to like it, and da da da. But then as I keep watching you, I'm just like, okay, so number one, part of it is he can't help. It's just, you're just wired, and that's unfortunately for me. So that's for me to blame. And then I start worrying about you. But I do know, no matter what you did, you always had the best intentions. You always had the heart for it. You may not have done things conventionally, but the reasons why you do things are clear. So and then I learned that persistence is a good thing, because you are persistent. But as a grown-up, you need to be persistent if you have some goals that you want to achieve. And I think a lot of yours was persistence and determination. Like, oh yeah, you said I can't do it, I'm going to do it. And that's a positive trait. And another thing is, sometimes you just have to go for your dreams. So many people, majority of people in life don't go for what they want.
Vast majority of people say.
Yeah. It's like, and for you, I'm like, I do not want you in a career that you're going to wake up and like, I hate my job.
That's what I had resigned myself to right prior to coming to the Lord. And I was just like, life's going to suck.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a dentist, but I'm going to make money.
Oh, no, I could have told you should not go
I
into
had
that.
no clue what life was
I was
gonna be
telling
like.
you no, not to,
But I didn't have an alternative. I literally did not know what, if I wasn't going to be a dentist, what would I have been at that point in my life?
Yeah.
Zero direction.
Yeah, I know.
So the interruption of God came at like the perfect moment.
Right.
When you pray for Emily and I now, what does that look like? What do you pray for? And I guess, what are your hopes for us?
Well, for all of you guys, because now there's 3 pairs. And it's my same, I guess, okay, so I'd rather just keep my thoughts simple and not get too into things, or else I'm gonna get stressed out. Like, I don't want to see your place in Philadelphia, so I do a very general prayer. I just want you guys to love each other, live for the Lord, be happy, and that's pretty much it. I'm not asking for anything in particular except for grandchildren, but some people don't want to listen to me. Other than that, I just want you guys to be happy and have a good life, whatever that means to you guys. So my prayers are that you stay healthy, happy.
And I see this in my life, but I'm curious if you observe it in yours, that as you mature, as you get older, your prayers become less and less specific and more basic.
But I started that a lot younger than most people, because when you hit something that's pretty devastating in your life, you just kind of just skip over all that other stuff and just go right there. So I've been doing this kind of general stuff for a while now.
Last thing I want to ask you, is there any advice you've wanted to share with Emily and I, or me specifically, that you just haven't had the opportunity yet? Something that you'd want to pass on, some wisdom or advice?
For you two, as a couple?
As couples, as individuals, just as a mother who cares? I don't know.
You be nice to her. And you need to be tougher to him.
And that's kind of what we have been doing.
You're too nice to him.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story.
You
of
are
our
way
relationship
too
dynamic.
nice. This guy needs taming. And I think you're the only one that could be able to do it, because you're too nice. And you need to be nice. You're too headstrong.
No doubt.
But there's good things about it too, but at the right times.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for jumping on camera, because I know how much you hate being on camera.
I know.
And
It's
thank
so
you.
good though.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Love you. This is the part of the YouTube video. If it would be picture perfect to announce that we're pregnant, but sorry, we're not pregnant.
Where's the test? The positive test?
Maybe
In there.
Maybe in the next year or two, or however many, we'll be able to do that video at some point. But
Such a disappointment.
I know, story of my life. Thank you so much for your time. Love you.
Love you too.
Hey guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this entire episode. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what kind of conversations you'd like to see in the future, whether that's other family members, other people. If you have any ideas for different kind of meaningful conversation, podcast style things to be doing, let me know in the comments below what you think, and I'll do my best to accommodate some of the votes that you guys have there. But with that said, thank you guys again for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it's a little bit different. Do give me some feedback. I'd love to grow and develop this kind of content. Anyways, hope you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.